Thanks to those joining me live and to those joining me on archive. This is DStyleBoxing. Let's talk about when Dana White was allegedly going to be boxing Tito Ortiz in an amateur boxing fight. According to Dana White, Tito Ortiz challenged him to a fight. Both of them were having beef. And obviously, Dana White admits I would never have fought Tito Ortiz in an actual MMA fight. He admits Tito Ortiz would have double-legged him and smashed his face in relatively easily, he admits. But in a boxing match, Dana White alleges, hey, look, when Tito Ortiz first started out, I was his manager, and I was also his boxing coach. And I would always beat the shit out of, I quote, I used to beat the shit out of Tito Ortiz in the boxing ring. Dana White alleges that Tito Ortiz, challenged him to the fight, but he was also trying to change the rules around. First said, he had Jenna Jameson, who was his Tito Ortiz's wife at the time, or wife or girlfriend, one or the other at the time, call Dana White and say, hey, I don't want headgear. Dana White claims he agreed. Okay, we won't do headgear. And then another call, Tito wants to box with 8-ounce gloves. Dana said, no problem. We'll do it 8-ounce gloves. All this, according to Dana White. There was some issues with the weight. Dana White got in shape. He trained for the fight. He took the fight serious. He did a special on Spike. And Tito Ortiz, there wasn't much shown on Spike about his training, but it was understood that, it was a mixed martial artist. It was understood that it was in shape. Dana White, he did a lot of sparring with some amateur boxers and got his ass handed to him a couple times. They had him box some quick boxers. He got his ass handed to him. But nonetheless, he went on to, get ready to make weight. There was issue with the weight, and Tito Ortiz pulled out. Yes, Tito Ortiz pulled out. Now, I've heard different stories. I've heard, Tito thought, why should I take a risk doing this? And Dana White's mind was, hey, you challenged me to a fight. Now, one must answer, why would Tito Ortiz not want to fight Dana White? I understand that's a boxing fight, but why wouldn't you fight Dana White? Well, what's Dana White's, experience in boxing? I mean, we all know he comes from a boxing background. But what is Dana White's boxing here? What experience does he have? When you look into Dana White, okay, he began boxing at the age of 17, but that's all it really tells you. Like you can't really find anything else. I mean, he was from Manchester, Connecticut. You can't really find much about him. Like, this is not someone who had a stellar amateur career, It's not somebody that made it to, to the Nationals or some shit like that. This is not someone that, came, close to, to the Olympic, he didn't make it to Olympic trials or anything like that or close to that. I don't even think he has the Golden Gloves under his belt. Not even that. Not a novice Golden Gloves, nothing. I can't find anything on Dana White. I know he used to do boxing lessons. And this is the guy that was battering Tito Ortiz around? This is the guy that was battering the shit out of Tito, who was, at the time, would have been, one of the top fighters, if not the light heavyweight champion in the UFC. That is insane. So is it true? One must wonder, is it true that Dana was beating the shit out of Tito in boxing sparring? I mean, hey, look, you look at Tito, he had real slow hands. But I saw fights with him against Victor Belfort, who has way better hands than him, but he was hanging in there, a little bit. I mean, he had the takedowns and stuff, but sure, he looks real slow hands, and I mean, the only guy I ever saw him outbox was Ken Shamrock, who was a terrible boxer himself. So one must wonder, right? Even then, you know, it's unbelievable that someone like Tito Ortiz was getting batted around by someone who started boxing at the age of 17, a very late age to start boxing. This is not someone who was boxing at a very young age, and never really went anywhere with his career. Someone who admits, Dana White admits this. He admits he wasn't a fighter. And what he means by that is he just didn't have it in him to be a fighter. That's how he pursued other things. That's how he pursued, you know, working under promoters and being a promoter. And he tried to be a boxing promoter. He was muscled around by the sharks in the game. And Dana White was at the right place, right time, right vision. Convinced the Fertittas to invest in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And we know the rest. But it's not like Tito, as somebody would say, well, Tito Ortiz was getting battered around by an amateur boxer with a 70-8 record or something like that. That would be, yeah, that's believable. But Dana White? Like, bro, that's embarrassing, Tito. You were, at one point, the longest reigning light heavyweight champion in the UFC. I mean, I know Tito was known to take guys down. That's what he was known for. Taking guys down, grounding and pounding them, dropping elbows in their heads. That's what Tito was known for, right? He was known for his wrestling. Okay, he was known for his takedowns. Tito wasn't known for his hands. So in fairness, but still, Dana, who at that time was not an active boxer, he was training, what was he doing? Aerobic classes? And he was battering Tito Ortiz around? That's embarrassing, Tito. It's embarrassing, right? And it would have been interesting if the fight would have happened. I mean, who knows what happened? You know? I believe what ultimately happened was this, okay? I don't know if everything Dana White alleges is true. I don't know. Right? You know, if it's true that Dana was beating the shit out of him in training and Tito knew it, then that says a lot about Tito Ortiz's boxing ability, okay? In fact, before I tell you about, I remember when Tito was training with Fred Roach. I mean, terrible. I mean, hitting the mitts, he looked terrible hitting the mitts. It was kind of sad, actually. It was kind of sad. But, you know, it was just that he looked very robotic doing it. It's just his body type, the way he had his body type, it just wasn't made to throw combinations like that. You know what I mean? It just wasn't made for that. Now, he did have, you know, he was a real strong guy, so when he would connect, he would hurt guys, you know. And it's that, you know, but there you go, right? Over the years, he slightly improved. There was improvement in his hands, but not that much. Okay. What would have happened? Here's why I believe the fight didn't happen. Okay. I believe Tito Ortiz sabotaged it. The smart thing Dana did was do the whole documentary. That was a smart thing he did. He had the UFC cameras following him around, doing the training. He even videotaped when he got permission from the commission to do the fight, because at first the commission didn't want to sanction it. But Dana showed them, you know, by sparring and videotaping it. And look, I'm sparring amateur boxers here. They were whooping his ass, but he was sparring. You know, I mean, there's this little black dude that was whooping Dana's ass. I don't even know who that guy is. He was whooping his ass, like half his size too. And then he sparred some like heavyweight who was just battering him around. You know, and there was even clips. I mean, those clips were he was training with a friend or a brother of his, and I forget who he was, but he was holding the mitts. And Dana wanted to quit in the middle of hitting the mitts. He wanted to quit. He was tired. He was exhausted, and the guy kept talking. You can't quit. And he said, I don't know. And it was kind of interesting. I'm not gonna lie. But the smart thing, he videotaped the whole thing, and he said, "Look, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna beat the shit out of." They had fighters give predictions. Randy Couture was on there saying, I think Dana's gonna beat him. I think Dana's gonna show that this is his specialty, and he's gonna beat Tito. Like it's just, that's gotta ache when your peers are saying your boss, who's not even a fighter, is gonna whoop your ass. But Tito found a way not to fight. I believe Tito understood that if I go in there and lose to Dana White, it's going to make me look really, really bad. It's going to make him the laughing stock, and I think he pulled out. I think he pulled out because of that. He found a way to sabotage and not make weight and made it a weight issue and all this. I believe he even made it a money issue. Dana was, he was very upfront about it. Like I said that at the beginning, Dana admitted, look, I can't beat this guy in a MMA fight. He'd take me down. He'd smash me in the ground. But in a boxing fight, Tito knows I'll beat his ass. Like he was, it was funny. But he was very upfront about that. It would have been interesting, to say the least. Okay? Who do you guys think would have won if Tito Ortiz boxed Dana White? We don't know how good Dana White is. If he's as good as I saw in the sparring he did, he ain't that good. Right? So he was battering Tito around. What does that say about Tito's boxing? Okay. Well, Tito wasn't the best boxer in the world, but what he was closer to his prime. He was actively fighting in competitive competitions. So who knows? I don't know. I'm interested to know who you guys think would have won, and why do you think Tito pulled out? Were the reasons legitimate? Is it something I don't know? Is it something I left out? Because I kept trying to look for Tito's side of the story, and it's always it's too grainy there. It's never very specific. Like all these terms, like it seems to me like he wanted to do everything possible to have Dana pull out. It was supposed to be an amateur boxing fight, and then Tito said, I don't want headgear. Dana said, okay. Oh shit. I want 8-ounce gloves. Dana said, okay. Oh shit. Now he wanted him to say no to one of those things. So you come out and say, see, Dana doesn't want to fight me with real gloves or without headgear. He wants to wear headgear like a bitch. He was looking for something, and Dana wouldn't give it to him. So to me, that's an L for Tito, and it's a W for Dana White. Right? I don't even like Dana White. To be honest with you, I wanted Tito to knock his ass out. So I don't like the guy. But who knows? Maybe it's true. Maybe it's true that he would have battered Tito around in a boxing match. Who knows? I don't understand why Tito pulled out. I'll tell you that much right now. So that's what I think. This is DStyleBoxing. Give me your thoughts. I'm out.